Hello and welcome to today's KDP University's At Home with Michelle M. Pillow. I'm Trisha, and for the past 5 years, I've moved around Amazon's books teams, learning the business so I can share it with authors. Prior to coming to Amazon, I worked as a graphic artist, project manager, and educator. Currently, I'm privileged to work on the KDP University team, helping authors use the KDP website to make the most of their author journey. But enough about me. We're all here to talk to Michelle. New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of over 100 titles, with over 1 million books sold, Michelle M. Pillow is best known for paranormal, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, mystery, and paranormal women's fiction. Wow, that's a lot. A romantic at heart, Pillow likes stories with a happy ending, imperfect characters, and good mysteries to solve. She loves to travel and try new things, and she's addicted to movies. And although it hasn't happened yet, she dreams to be in a zombie in a horror movie. I think, don't we all? All right, welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's a thrill.
Get my camera up there.
There you go. Well,
And
thank you for
thank
joining us
everyone in
today.
the audience for the support today. I really appreciate it.
So zombie in a horror movie, huh?
Yeah, my brother and I growing up, we really liked those B-grade horror movies just because they were just so much fun and funny. And I don't know why, but I just always thought I would be really good at it, especially because I practice every morning when I get out of bed and I'm kind of going to the coffee pot. I'm like, I think I would be a shoo-in. And not many lines to memorize.
Yeah, just no makeup, no hair done, heading for the coffee maker. Exactly. Great B-roll. So, what a diverse amount of genres that you write in. Do you write and publish under Michelle M. Pillow for all of those, or do you have different names that you use?
I've used a few pen names in the past, but for the most part, the bulk of my work and the most popular work is under the Michelle M. Pillow name. It wasn't planned like that. I started about 18 years ago with traditional publishing and small press, and I was convinced I was just going to write historicals. I went to college to study history. I was a historical author, and there's nothing you could tell me about it. And I loved historical romances. And so I was working I had got a contract with a publisher, and I was so excited. And we put out ended up being a Regency Gothic, was my very first book published. Regency said, Gothic romance, ghost story. And I loved it. And I was so excited. And the publisher comes to me and they're like, well, we're really trying to fill out our sci-fi line. And I'm like, sci-fi? What? No, a historical author. And so that's kind of how it happened. Is I already had this book published. They still wanted me to use my name. I was still new enough, and I didn't know about branding. So I said, okay, fine. I will write you a 4-book series, but then I'm going back to what I love. And I ended up basing a lot of my stuff on history. So I did bring that into the sci-fi futuristics, but joke was on me because it was probably the best decision I ever made. It really opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm actually still releasing in that series today, 18 years later. I just last month released the latest book in that ongoing world. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then while I was doing that, I had Virgin Books Random House wanted me to do some contemporaries, but they also wanted my name. So we did contemporaries, and then it just kind of snowballed from there with all these genres. So.
Now we've got a lot of questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, for authors who are listening, though, if you're starting out new, I really think to consider it because it's easier to brand if you have different names. But I was going to say, because I get asked this a lot, if you do it the way I did it, or you've been doing it for a while and you've already done it the way I've done it, and you don't want to have to try to switch names and train your readers to a different name to let you know this is me, they didn't steal it. Because that happens a lot. They'll be like, I found this author and they're using your book. I've read this. And I'm like, no, sorry, it's me. Which is great that readers do that. But my advice on that would be is if you do that, try to brand your covers or do some type of other sub-branding under your name so they know. So like if you look at mine and you see a cartoonish cover, you know that's a cozy mystery, clean and wholesome, no steamy scenes are going to be in that, and it's going to be comedic. If you see, you know, like my Acrylics and Lords or my Dragon Lord covers, you'll see, you can kind of go look at my stuff and you kind of see how they're branded towards the different series, but also branded towards the different genre, which is very important. But that's my biggest advice if you go my route.
So how does that complicate some of your talking about branding? Because a lot of authors will use, you know, a very specific font for the title or font for their name. So you're not concerned with branding across genres because there's separate reader groups, right?
I do have I'm lucky because I have a lot of crossover readers, especially when it comes to like the romance and now the paranormal women's fiction. I'm seeing a lot of crossover there. I don't see as much crossover between, say, people who like the cozy mysteries that are clean and wholesome to like steamier romances. There's not a lot of crossover this way, but there is crossover that way. I think by now a lot of people who follow me know my name, and so they see that they know. But I do try to use like my title font to brand either series or like you know, title font, the series will have their own little series banner or their own style of font for like the different books or for the different genre. Some of my books are branded the same with my name, and it kind of depends on the cover artist I work with and how I think the actual final cover looks, because that's what I want to look the best. But like different series will have different types of name fonts. Some of them will have like the bigger name font so people can recognize that it's me.
Right.
I think it's something that what's great about indie is it's something that you can always continue to play with. So if I do something, I say, you know what, for some reason, all these covers with my name all big on it is selling better than these covers with my name kind of small across the bottom, I can go switch that out. You know, I've got Photoshop or I've had a relationship with my cover artist, and I can just go slip that out, go up, beta test it, see how it works. And if it works, great. If not, just quietly switch it back.
So it's great. You're both, so you started in traditional publishing, but at some point you made the switch over to indie, and now you're a hybrid author, right?
Yes, I'm hybrid, mostly because I'm still in contract with a lot of my books. They're not time released contracts, and it's fine. I still get checks from them, so I'm happy. So I'm not complaining at all.
Passive income.
I think there's positives to both routes. I learned a lot in small press and traditional publishing. You know, I learned grammar, I learned the rules of editing, I learned the book publishing process. I met a lot of great people, so I'll never trash that side of the business. But around 2007, I had a bunch of books that were coming out of time release contract. Actually, the Dragon Lord, some of my first ones, were coming out of a time release contract. And I was trying to decide what to do with them. And I had publishers who were wanting more books, but they wanted brand new books. And here I was with like, you know, I think it was like 8 to 10 books coming out around the same time of their contracts. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Am I going to recontract these? What am I going to do? I'm like, well, you know what? Let's just try to sell them on my own. And at that time, people who are just starting, let me tell you how much easier you have it now with Amazon and all the tools that they give you. We didn't have Amazon, and I think you guys started in 2008, I think. So it was soon after. Yeah. So this was like 07, and we had to like format our own books, and I had to learn HTML coding to get some of like this old wonky formatting out of there that just kept going forward in the books. And like every time Word upgraded, we get like this weird white highlight. And I had to learn like how to pull books apart in HTML. It was horrible. And then you had to try to grind the books and to make like these lit files, which nobody uses anymore. And so now, I mean, you can just go online, you put your document up, it makes it for you, puts it out, it's super pretty. And I'm like, oh, but anyway, I digress a lot. So you can just stop me if I get going.
Okay.
But, and yeah, so in 07, that's kind of how it happened is I'm like, well, you know what, I've got these books, let's just try it. We sold them from the website, or, you know, we kind of learned how to build a website store. Sold them from the website, and I was with another author, Mandy M. Roth, who was kind of in the same situation, and so it was really nice to have an author friend you can do things together with.
Right.
And so we both kind of did this at the same time. We're like, well, if it doesn't work, we can always try to recontract them. But it worked phenomenally well for both of us, and then, you know, like Amazon came out in 2008 and we're like, okay, well, yeah, now we got some distribution. Let's look into this. And it took off and I have never looked back. You know, it's been an amazing journey. And like I said, I love what I learned in traditional publishing. And you know, so I'm not going to knock any of that, but the
Yeah.
control I have now is you can't beat it.
Right.
I mean,
and we try to make it as easy as possible.
Yes. And like the covers, covers are like my big thing because when you're traditional, you can kind of like do an art questionnaire and tell them what you want, what you feel, but that final cover that comes to you, that's what you get. You know, they're like, well, the marketing department decided this, and you're like, well, they didn't. Can I protest? And you can't. I mean, you can ask, but that's what's so great about indie is if I change my mind on a cover, if I want to update it or something I love's not working, because it's not always about me, it's about what the reader likes, you can go and you can do that. So did I answer your original question?
I think you did.
And you're gonna slowly like take her coffee away.
No, you're actually reading my mind right now. So you're pulling out things that I would ask as follow-up questions, and you're just answering it. So I think we're on a roll. I think we're doing well.
We can just sit here silently and mind talk.
Exactly. The only problem with that is I think that people joining us would have a problem. They'd just be staring at us.
Why are these people just sitting there?
Exactly. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, so we've got the backstory, we're into self-publishing or indie publishing now, and let's talk a lot about marketing, because I think that especially having such a diverse backlist in all sorts of different genres, marketing's got to be key for you. Let's talk a little bit about some of your marketing strategy. Let's start with a new release. Do you have the same strategy for each release?
I have the same basic strategy like for all the genres. I do have like, here, I can just kind of give you guys a sense. I've got like this giant list of things that I do when I release a book, and I would share it, but it's not going to make sense to anybody but me. And this is kind of one of like, this is stuff that I've developed that works for me over the last years, things that I also need to be reminded to do, like to post a book at a certain location, or to let, you know, as an author friend that I've made contact with who wants, you know, shares my books and I share theirs, to remember to actually tell them that it's coming. If there's a narrator associated with an audiobook, things like that, things that are just specific to me as an author. But I have this, basically, I have this giant, I keep a giant checklist, and it's forever evolving. And it's just things to remind me to do, because usually, and I think a lot of self-published authors can relate to this, you have one book that's releasing, one book that's in final edits, one book that's maybe in developmental edits, and one book that you're writing, and about 50,000 that you're planning or researching or, you know, wanting to write, but you're stuck here doing this. When you have that many going, it's important to be organized, and these lists help me, you know, just to know that, okay, I did make sure to announce all these books at this location. I didn't make sure that, yes, it's on my website. Yes, I've got the buy links up. Yes, I did the pre-order. And I can kind of, like, just some of like the topic headings that I have on this to help, like if people want to start developing their own list and start thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
I have like my pre-order listing, which is basically making sure I put it on the web page. And some of it you might think simple, but once you get going and you're tired, you might, where's my web? Where's my landing page? Where, you know, oh my God, I can't, this releases tomorrow and I don't have any graphics, you know, which happens a lot anyway with the list. But, you know, make sure that the series pages are updated, making sure that when I've got the pre-order ready to load, I've got all the back matter and all the series updated, that I've got my author central pages updated if I need to on series, things like that. And then I have a section for vendor contacts. Like if I have, you know, a vendor has a form that I want to fill out, you know, that tells about a book, anything like that that they may have. And a lot of these will be contacts that you develop in your career that are special to you, and just the networking that you do with other authors. Then I have like a list for things closer to the release date. I have a list for newsletter swaps when I trade with other authors, author trades, Facebook parties, things I want to do on social media, like making sure I change my Facebook banner or my Twitter banner to the new book to kind of talk about it. Anything like that you want to do. Let's see. And then I have sections for just like, if it's a cozy, these are my contacts for cozy. And these are the reviewers who said, are bloggers who want the cozy or want the sci-fi or, just the different areas. If I release a paperback or a hardback or an audioback, I have sublists for that. And then I have what I do on release day. I have my graphics pool where I want to make sure I have certain graphics that I can add review quotes to things afterwards. Review sites that you want to contact or, bloggers that you contact. And then I have like a list of stuff I want to do much later. Like if I'm going to put this into a series box set, and that list is usually much shorter because then I'm just like, it's done, it's out, next book. But that kind of just gives you an overview of what's on my basic list. I mean, I hope that's helpful. But as far as like, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I think that that's really helpful. To have that list, and I think that it, like to your point, it's going to be unique to everybody, but that kind of helps give them a starting point of how I can build this. Yeah. All right.
And I think it's important too to network. I mean, I have another list that I wrote it out because I did not want to forget to give anybody like the tidbits that I usually, you write it out in an email to people when they ask you a question, and you have it like all there. So I didn't want to forget to give any tips today, but I think it's, very important too, like when you're networking with authors, like, well, I shared their thing, but they didn't share mine. Well, did you remind them? Because I guarantee you this author is as busy as you are, and they have family life, they have things. So if you've got like, a new author that you're doing with and you're like, well, yeah, I'll talk about your book next week. Can you, mention mine next month? Make sure that you send them the reminder email. And that's something that's on my list. And that gets personalized per book too. And so I don't forget to do that because it does save some hard feelings in the past. Because I know like I've forgotten things in the past that I truly want to do, but a month later, that's like an eternity in author years.
Right.
It's like,
so a couple of things there. One of the things you mentioned as far as one of the steps you take is your Author Central account. Let's talk a little bit about Author Central and how you use that and, well, what it is and how it works for you.
Okay. Well, if you are a new author, a lot of these things that we talk about for Amazon are going to be in your KDP dashboard. And I believe most people or all people or will soon have the marketing tab where you can find all these things listed on one page. When you go into the book, different books, you'll be able to see this, which is really neat. And Author Central, you can find through that. And you'll see, I believe in there, Author Central and a list of a bunch of countries. Since I'm in the US today, I'll just talk from, going to the US one. But a lot of times when you load information for one store, it'll filter out to the other stores. And I think there might be some language restrictions on that. But for Author Central, you go in there, you can find your Author Central account and you go sign up for that. And this is what you use to put in all the extra information that you see on book pages that you don't do in the KDP dashboard, where you can add like editorial reviews or, reader reviews or peer reviews. They've got a section for that. They've got a section from the author section where I've seen authors do things like list through all the books in the series, or they do a special note to readers about that book, why it's special to them. Sometimes if you have a note inside the book that you do, like a Dear Reader note that you put inside the actual book itself, you can take that and you can kind of put it from the author section. That's a kind of a nice way to reuse some content. You can put in, that's where you put in your bio photos. And that's kind of the page that brings everything centrally. When you click on an author's name and you see their picture comes up and has like a row of their books, and then has like their blog feed in there, some media, some videos, some pictures. That's your Author Central account. That's how they get that. And then I believe under the picture you have like your bio and you put that in there as well.
Right.
And that's kind of where you start to build your individualized pretty pages.
Right.
And those that link from that is really good.
Yeah. So do you use different bios for your Author Central bio and your individual book bios, or do you use the same bio?
Usually they're different. They might have some same elements to them, and I'll play around with that a lot. And I would say when you're writing your bio, make sure you're thinking of the audience who's going to be reading it. And for like the book matter and the Amazon Central page, you're talking to readers. So it's not going to be a super professional bio where you're talking about, I'm a member of this group and I'm that. It's going to be things that entertain a reader or connect to a reader. So you want to talk about fun stuff. You talk about your family life or your strange hobbies. For me, it's being an extra zombie, or an extra zombie. You talk about your coffee addiction, your pets who are your managers, and you say things you want that connect to readers to let them know a little bit who you are. Is kind of more your conversation with them. So yes, for those I will use kind of variations, but two, I don't want everything to be exactly the same at every single place. You want uniformity, but you also want to be, like, oh, I'm learning something a little bit more about her here, when I go to this place, like at Goodreads, or I'm learning, that's fun, or if they've read your bio before and you change it up every once in a while, they learn like some new fun facts about you. And it's a nice way to keep it fresh. And it's free. I mean, these are free tools to, help you connect. So.
Now there's another free tool that has just recently been released that I know that you're like diving in head first, and that's the A+ detail pages. Can you talk a little bit about what those are and how you use them?
Yes. These are, as your Author Central is to kind of make your author page pretty and bring all your books into one location. A+ Central is more to decorate your individual book pages. And oh my goodness, this tool is amazing because the possibilities with it are completely endless. So basically, same thing, you go to your marketing, the marketing section of your KDP dashboard, you'll see A+ content on there. And then I believe it has a list of the different marketplaces. Now, this is going to be one of my little tips and tricks to you guys for this is I would start out building either your Amazon US or your Amazon UK ones. And there's a reason for it. And I'll get into that a little bit when we get into later, but you go into for me, it's Amazon US, but even if that's not your country, start there because you'll be able to reuse that content across more countries more easily. So, I mean, basically you go in and you pick these different modules that you want, and you can have graphics, you can have your self-publishing logo, you can have your author branding logo on there. You can do, sorry, I'm getting a bunch of pop-ups. Hope you can still see me. You can do series listings. I mean, the possibilities are completely endless because it really is as simple as just picking a module and filling out some information and loading some artwork. And you get these really beautiful things. Since we're not screen sharing, I kind of printed this to give an example. Some of you might recognize this from the KDP help pages for this. They used me as an example on there. And the reason I printed it up so I can kind of show you. So right here, these are two different modules on there. And the top module, was the standard image and light text overlay module. And usually what that is, it's a picture, and then you have like a light little text box on there where you can put some words in. Well, one of my little tips for that is I love the size of this graphic that comes with that versus the logo graphic that was kind of smaller. So instead of, I just leave that text box blank and there's no white overlay box. It's just this nice size graphic that's the same size as the other modules. And then like the wording that's on there, I just had that on my graphic beforehand. And you just load that up in there. And then the second module was the standard single image and sidebar, which was, I just used my author picture. I've got like an author bio. I've got a list of series that people might like who are interested in this kind of my series that go over. Let them know too that I've done a lot of more work. So it's not just, if you're interested in or you like my books, you can go get more. And then here I've got some quotes from other authors about the series page that we're on, and then like the books in the series. And that's just one example of what you can do. I've seen authors do like timelines for their stories. They've done like comparison charts. If you're a nonfiction author, you can do, really any graphic that you can think of. So I would recommend playing around in those a lot. And then I didn't want to forget to tell you this. So when you're in there, You go in, you put your information in. Make sure that if you, any book that you publish through the KDP dashboard, whether it's the ebook, the paperback, or the hardback, you get all three of those ASIN numbers. You put, when you go through these, so, and you can do more than one book. So like for me, I have the same graphic for series just for kind of branding and continuity against them all. And then you can A/B test, you know, single books if you want. But doing the full series, it's also a good way to get this content out there while you're trying to build more individualized content. So at least you have something up. Right. And then you go, I feel like I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine.
So then when you go into this A+ content, and you know, you put up these things, you'll go through, you'll go and you put all your ASIN numbers. Like I said, make sure that you do all of them. And another cool tip is, as long as the book is live on the Amazon site, you can make this content for it. So if you have a pre-order, you can go in and do this. Nice. I believe it takes about 8 to 10 days, they say, to get the content approved, so just be patient. But you'll go through this process, you put in all your ASIN numbers, make sure you get all, you know, all three, or, you know, whatever formats you have, and then, you know, publish it. And if there is an error, they'll tell you, you like, you know, you have to cite this source. You can't use like reader quote. You can't use like some accreditations. You can't put that stuff in there. They have some rules, and you can see those in the frequently asked questions. Right. But I found the process to be incredibly simple. I've had some things come back and they just wanted me to put like a date on the review quote because I didn't have the date parentheses afterwards. I did that, it went through, it was just fine. Now, the really, really cool tip to this is when you put it in the US or the UK ones, on the page when you're in there, it'll say switch marketplace. And I actually wrote this down so I could tell you exactly what it said. You'll switch to, like, say you're in the US, switch to the UK marketplace. And then there is a little checkbox on there on the content page, because at first it'll be empty. Check that box and it says show auto created content. Check that box. And what's going to happen is all those things that you built on your US platform are going to pull over and show up on your UK one. So you do not have to re-enter this information again. I learned this the hard way. I did not, when I was first starting, I'm just going to jump in and do it. I know what I'm doing. I didn't. And so this is like the best tip I have, especially if you have a lot of books. And you can go tweak them from there if you want to tweak per country for whatever reason. But you go in there, you do have to go through each one and approve them again. But you do that, and then those are publishing out on those sites. And they'll tell you if for whatever reason that content doesn't work on that site, you'll get a message and how to fix it. And it's usually really easy. Then let's see, I wrote it down.
Can you repeat that the box again, the name of the box? That I think people are writing this down. So if you can repeat the name of it.
After you switch marketplace, so you go from like US to UK, you'll see a checkbox up top, and it's called show auto created content. And that little checkbox, and it's pretty easy to find. I think it's the only one up top, but that little checkbox will bring all your stuff over. Perfect. And then after you do the UK, there's basically 6 countries that right now, because I went and tested it last night before I came on here so I can make sure I told everybody the up-to-date information. Right now, the 6 of the countries you can do this with. It looks like it might be rolling out to more countries, but it also might be limited to language. Some countries might only want like content in like Italian or French or Spanish. So those might be separately. I'm not sure, but I would just check them every once in a while to see, since, you know, your book's probably in English if you're listening to this, you know that. But if you do have books in other languages, that's a perfect opportunity to go build some extra pages that way too. Right. But if you're writing it down, these are, as of last night, the countries that I was able to do this copy thing over to make life easier. It was US, UK, DE, Germany, IN, CA, and AU. Those were the 6 that you could do this. And it'll save you so much time, especially, you know, you work so hard to make this pretty graphic. Right. Oh, another thing I wanted to touch on to make sure if you guys are writing stuff down, those really pretty 3 graphic things with the line splits in them that you're seeing on author pages, for those large, basically you take a large image and you cut it into 3 and you put it into
Right.
3 different modules to get it on there.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's a couple ways to do this. And if some things you can do if you use like BookBrush, I know BookBrush has introduced some templates in there for
Okay.
A+ content that'll actually size it the way that you need, which is super handy. I haven't played with it too much, but I kind of glanced at it last night again for today
Mm-hmm.
just to see what they had. So a lot of these things you can go and like get automatic templates to do, which makes it super easy. But you can also do it in Canva and you just put your dimensions in.
Mm-hmm.
If you go play around in the modules and then click on the photo to upload a photo, it'll tell you what dimension that photo is going to need for that location on that module. So I
Okay.
would go write those down beforehand. But if you want those 3 graphic pretties, you're going to be basically dealing with an image that's 970 by 900 cut
Okay.
into 3. So if you're in Canva, you can make this big graphic, basically download it, put it right back in and use as like your main graphic, and then make your box the size that it needs to be, and just slide
Uh-huh.
it over and save 3 of those. And just line it to the top, line it to the bottom, line it to the center, then you've got your 3 graphics. An easier way, like if you just have this graphic, you can go into put your modules and you slide the photo up and down inside the module,
Mm-hmm.
and then you put your 3 graphics because
Nice.
it's such a beautiful effect.
Yeah, I've
But
seen
everybody
it. They're
keeps asking
gorgeous.
like, how do you do that? And trying
Right.
to like cut there, and I'm like, I have plans to do some. I don't think any of my books have them now, just because I
Uh-huh.
haven't had a chance to play with it. But that is like one of the big questions that people seem to have is
Okay.
how to do that. And
Okay.
it's
And
a lot easier than it looks.
nice. And just a reminder for everybody, this is being recorded, so you will get a link to the recording, or you can check out our YouTube channel. I know that's a question that's coming up right now. And then in addition to that, the image that Michelle was referring to earlier, if you go to the KDP help pages and type in A+ detail, it's going to pull up that exact graphic. So with the different sections that she spoke about earlier. All right. So next thing, the visuals will show in the recording because we actually can see each other, and we've
Okay.
gotten feedback that other people can see us too. So I'm not sure why it's only affecting a portion of the viewers, but there is a portion of the viewers that can see. So it is recording, so there will be video. Fingers crossed, please don't make me a liar, in the recording that we post. So we should be good to go with that. All right, so there's been another recent release of a new product that you've been looking into taking advantage of, and that's hardcover. For everybody
Yes.
who's joining us, that is currently rolling out. It was announced yesterday, and we're super proud to be able to offer hardcover right now.
Hmm.
So, Michelle, you were able to take advantage of this and try it out, right?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, it's as easy as making a paperback for the most
Mhm.
part. I mean, uh, the depending on what size you format, your paperbacks, if you like 5x8, or depending on your size, you might not be able to use the same interior. But however you're formatting like the interior for your paperback, you just reformat that into your hardback, and that's
Mhm.
taken care of. And you can also like switch up the graphics and make it special since it's a hardback copy if you want to like change things up a little bit and make the editions look differently. But for the most part, it's super simple. And then the other big change would be the cover. They do have a template in there now, so you can use a template that'll give you the dimensions you need for the new cover. If you have Photoshop or you have the layers, depending on your agreement with your cover artist, you can either have your cover artist do it for you and just give them the template that you need. Or if you're in Photoshop or it's a cover that you have more control over, you can go in there and you can just drop it all into the template, kind of just resize all your cover stuff the way that you need, and you get a case laminate, which is really nice. And it's just another format to give your readers who
Mhm.
want those different sizes, or they want those different keeper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to be on everyone's keeper shelf, so let's give them something to keep.
Exactly. Now, case laminate, that means it doesn't have a dust jacket on it.
Yes. I'm hopeful that Amazon, you know, I've asked, so let's all beg for dust laminate jackets. But I'm super excited because this is, I mean, it's an amazing, you know, amazing new product that we can use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also nice to have these, like when you go to book signings, you can have some, and you know, hardbacks, they'll sit up really nice on a display. You know, if you don't have a display with you, can, you know, people can do that. They can touch it, they can look at it. And the case laminate, the samples I've seen so far, they've been really pretty. The printing, the collar's been nice on them. I mean, it's exactly what I expected the book to look like, you know, when I got it. So they are beautiful books.
Good, good. And so for those of you who have never tried this or aren't seeing it in your dashboard yet, it will come. But once it's available to you, what you'll see in your dashboard is where you see your ebook and paperback. Right underneath there is going to be the opportunity to publish in hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the process is just like paperback,
Mm-hmm.
as far as going through and like filling out the information and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, it's been really simple, but I encourage everybody to go at least play with it. If you have the means to, like I said, the hardest part's going to be that cover if you don't have, you know, the graphics, but if you do, I encourage you to go play with it. I mean, it's another free tool. Why not see what happens?
Right, right. And there are people like me, I'll read a book and if I love it, I'll buy it in hardback. And just to your point, I have a shelf that looks very similar to the shelf behind you, and most of that is hardcover.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We've been getting lots and lots of questions coming in. So I want to be able to answer some of the questions that are coming in. So we're going to start looking. So one of the things that came up is there's a lot of time that you spend on marketing and promoting. Where do you find the time to write? And do you have other people that help you out with the marketing and promotion?
That's an excellent question. I'm lucky enough for like the last decade, writing's my full-time career. So this is all I do. I'm not balancing young kids anymore. I'm not balancing, you know, school pickups or that. So in that sense, I'm lucky because I do have that time back to dedicate to work. And I don't have a job that I have to report to, which does make it more difficult. You just have to balance your time and you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost in those situations. For me personally, I do a lot of my own work because I'm a control freak and I like the control, which is also why I have so many lists so I can, you know, make sure that I'm not dropping any balls. I have had virtual assistants in the past that have helped me with some tasks. I think after this long, I've had kind of my streamlined process that works for me, you know, and as a writer, there are times where you just kind of brain freeze and you're stuck on a book and you're tired, you can't write, but those are the perfect opportunities to kind of switch gear. And sometimes just switching to a marketing task or an administration task on your website can kind of just clear the brain a little bit. And then when you come back to the book, you feel like you're, you know, more in tuned and ready to go. But what was their question again? I feel like I'm missing part of their question.
No, I think you got it. I think that the follow-up to that is if for a brand new author, what are the first 3 or 4 business things that you would do in order to, you know, just get started?
I actually wrote this down because I was making sure I pulled some things from my list that were free that people could do. So my number one advice is always write the book. Without a book, you have nothing to be a professional author about. You have nothing to talk about. You have nothing. So just that's the main thing is write the book. And when you get that book done, you write the next book because having that backlist is going to be like your number one thing. And it's what you're trying to sell. It's what you're driving readers to. If readers find your first book, but they don't have that second book yet, if it's not on pre-order or if it's not, you know, available, they could wander off and, you know, find somebody else. They could have loved it, but there's so many books out there right now. So they're going to find something to read. So you want to make sure that you have some stuff lined up that they can do. So if they get in at the first of the series and you have 10 books after that that you've written, and I know some authors are thinking 10, that's 10 years. But you know what? I have faith that you guys are all going to be here doing this in 10 years, so you'll have it. But that's the number one thing, is to make sure that you write the books. That said, the other thing would be to make sure that you have your author website and start your author newsletter. If you're new, there's a lot of places that'll do free for up to like your first 3,000 subscribers. Start collecting those, because those are people who truly want to know more about what you're doing. Put that newsletter link on your website, put it on your social media, get people there. And the reason I say the website's so important is because I guess I've been doing this long enough to have seen things come and go. When I first started, it was all about the Yahoo forums. Do you see anybody talking about Yahoo forums anymore? No. That's how we connected with readers. But it's the tools that we had at the time, and all of our presses had these Yahoo forums, and we would go and we just have these forum chats with readers, and that's what we did. But I believe Yahoo forums is even closed by now. So that was that. I'm so old.
Trust me, I'm with you, but I just wasn't tech savvy back then.
But I mean, that's just how readers, were able to talk to authors. And then after that, it was MySpace. I'm really dating myself today. I don't care. But then it was like MySpace, and I still think I have a MySpace account somewhere. But again, where people are going or where the reader going changes. Then they went to Facebook, and now that's just split off into, you've got Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok and all these social media places. But as those social medias changes, or as the rules change, or if, for some reason there's a glitch and your account gets suspended or anything happens, you still have that central hub where readers can find you, find your information. You can put out, news to them saying, listen, for some reason, this isn't working for me right now, but if you want to talk to me, you can find me over here. And you can also let them know your preferred social media places where, through the newsletter, through the website, like if you want to talk to me, go here, I hang out on Facebook, go here, I hang out on, Instagram. If you just want to see pretty pictures, go here. If you want to see me talk about books live, go to my TikTok. And by no means feel like you have to do all of the platforms. Do the ones that are most comfortable to you and that you can give time to. Because it would be better to have 2 fully developed platforms where readers know they can interact with you than 10 that you just kind of haphazardly throw the same content on, which I've been guilty of in the past, of just wanting to be everywhere. Having said that, I would say still go claim your profile name, like at TikTok, so you have it. Doesn't mean you have to use it. But that way later, if you decide, I'm going to be a TikTok star and do all these videos, you've got your name and nobody else has claimed your author name. And you have to start getting creative. That's another thing I learned early on is I didn't claim the M in my website. I had Michelle Pillow when I first started, but I didn't have the Michelle M Pillow, which the publisher started using with the middle initial to publish. And somebody scooped it up and bought it, and then basically tried to sell it back to me for over 10 years for like thousands of dollars.
Oh, jeez.
And I just kept saying no. I'm like, it's what I finally, I think, got it 2 years ago, and I've been doing this for 18 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So claim your website domain name if you can afford it. I know there's some cost involved with some people starting, but as soon as you can do that. If you can't do that, start, with your free website templates if you can, WordPress, things like that. Anything you can do to start, pointing readers to who you are is one of my top tips. And then when you're doing that, make sure you're networking with other authors. You want to make sure that authors, not only because you want them to advertise you or you want to take their readers, or it's not really that sinister. One, you're going to want an author friend in this business. Everyone gets bad reviews at some point. Everyone stresses out and has a bad day. Everyone just needs to vent about the fact that, I work at home, so everybody thinks that I can make my own schedule and I can just leave the office whenever I want, or they can interrupt at 50. You want somebody who understands that. and yeah, it's a huge one. My family's really good. So I'm very lucky there when it comes to that. But there are those times where, people are like, well, can't you just leave? I mean, no, we want to go party. Can't you just, I'm like, no, I have a book that's due tomorrow. Well, no, you work at home, you're your own boss.
Right.
So you want somebody who understands that with you. And then two, collaborative marketing efforts. Newsletter swaps are a great one to start with. I put your book in my newsletter and tell my readers, you put my, and vice versa.
Right.
You can group box sets. Limited time box sets are another great way to network with authors. And I would say in those relationships, make sure that you're giving as much as you're wanting to receive.
How do you find those authors? I think that's always the big question. I know that author events are a good place. Any other suggestions?
If you're able to go to conferences that, or join certain groups, those are always good. It kind of depends on your genre that you're wanting to do. But I mean, for me, like just, start talking to other authors online. Like if say you're on Facebook, go to the Facebook groups. When they have an event, make sure that you support them. Make sure that you're sharing when they have a new book come out. Make sure you're, congratulating them when they have something great happen to them, and do it from a genuine place. You don't just do it like, okay, now we're going to be friends and I'm going to get you check. It's not like that at all. You truly can develop some really great friendships in this industry.
Yeah.
And those are key. And so, I mean, for me, sometimes I'm introduced by other authors, and then you'll notice that as you get out there and you start kind of coming from a place of all, rising tides lift all boats versus how can I climb on top of you to reach where I want to go. You start getting, you start finding what you start putting out, you start finding coming back at you. You'll find those people, and you'll have people who want to take, and then you'll learn that, and you'll just go along your merry way and find other people who are like-minded and who, when they commit to something, they want to do it. And when you haven't, and you'll start seeing too, there'll be authors who reach out in ways that you don't really think, they want to, they're being kind to me, or they want to be my friend, or they're reaching out, and, you'll see them, they'll retweet something about your book. They'll, and that kind of shows that that's somebody who's open to, talking to other authors, supporting other authors. And those are the authors that you just kind of talk. And sometimes you can, I would say when you contact them, privately, be respectful of the fact that they're very busy. That don't go in with like a big giant ask, like, hey, can you just, can you put me on your marketing platform? You want to just say, hey, I saw you did this. It's interesting. I do this, and start a conversation. And I think you'll find that you'll either be, this will be somebody that you flow easily with and that you can talk to, or it's somebody like, hey, they're really nice, but we just don't, gel in the same way.
Now, you used your author group and your relationship with other authors to you were part of a group of women that almost introduced or took advantage of a relatively new subgenre.
Yeah, the paranormal women's fiction. That was February 2020. Was when there's 13 authors, and we all released on the same day. Basically, we wanted, it kind of all started, the goal was we wanted to write books about older heroines. We had a lot of young adult, a lot of new adult romances. And that's not to say we invented the 40-year-old heroine or the 40-plus heroine. It's basically saying when we went to try to find these books, they were lumped in with the young adult. They were lumped in with new adult. There was no, I don't know what it would be, adult section. The seasoned adult section.
There you go.
There wasn't that. And the goal of the paranormal women's fiction and giving it that branding was to say, listen, let's pull all these books together. Let's make this easy for readers to find. One, being the women's fiction kind of angle on it too. So it's obviously about women, and then paranormal just because it's cool. But there were like 13 authors. We all joined into this group. We all worked together to help build this platform. And I believe you've talked to some of them on here. If people want to go back and kind of watch probably more about this project. Elizabeth Hunter, Mandy Roth, KF Brain, a lot of authors involved in this. Um, but and that collective, yeah, was a great way for authors to get together and say, listen, let's do this together. Let's all hit our contacts together, our readers together. And it's been phenomenal. And I'm super excited by the amount of authors who like had books with 40-year-old heroines that came, that were paranormal and came back and said, put that on there, put that tag on this. Look, now you can find me. Now readers who want, and readers want it. I mean, readers definitely wanted this genre.
Yes.
They wanted to read about women who were their age, our ages.
Yeah. For those of us who grew up reading sci-fi fantasy, and then the only thing that's available is somebody in their 20, you start not being able to relate to that anymore. So this is just kind of a continuation of that growth. And it's really great to see that you were able to elevate all those voices and start pulling in other authors who had published, and then they're like, oh, now people can find me. Now there's a subgenre that people are like recognizing and looking for.
And the other exciting thing too was how many authors afterwards came forward and like, I've always wanted to write this book. And you've started seeing like just an explosion of really talented authors coming forward and writing books under this kind of new genre tag. And that's really what was new about it, was it had a place, it had something to be called, it had something to be listed at the vendor sites. And Amazon was pretty supportive of it too, because I know that they did some email blasts and like landing pages for it. So when you do something like that too, you never know how it's going to be picked up.
Right, exactly. All right, so we've got about 5 more minutes, and we've got some follow-up questions from the A+ Detail pages and Author Central. So for those of you who are looking for Author Central, where do they find it?
In your KDP dashboard, go to the marketing tab up along the top. You'll find A+ content. You'll find, if you're in Kindle Select, you'll find your countdown deals information there. Sometimes you'll see other beta things pop up in there that you can do. And I would just check that every once in a while, even if you don't think you need it. Oh, Amazon ads, if I think that's linked to in there as well. But yeah, you just find your Author Central, and then it'll have say, to choose your marketplace. For Author Central, I don't believe you have to go to each individual marketplace to do it. You just go to your US account, or for me, it's the US account, and that seems to feed out to most of the locations. But if you are publishing in another language, or say you have German editions or French editions, they do have a place in there where you can put in your German bio, translated bio, or your French translated bio. So just play around in there and see all the options. And I definitely recommend, anytime you get an option like that, like Author Central or KDP, your book thing, fill out everything that you can, because they pull that metadata. They, that's used how they use their algorithm searches. So make sure that you to varying degrees, I won't get into algorithms and searches, but when readers are looking for something, you never know what they're going to be looking for. Right. And you want that information. They want to know about you, the author. And sometimes if the book is like something they normally wouldn't read, but they really like your bio, they're like, well, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And exactly. That's happened a lot too with like, I have people tell me like, well, I don't read sci-fi, but then they're like, well, but I got this book for free at some giveaway. And so I just read it, and like, now I've read like all 30 books, and you're just like, hey. Like, I never knew I liked sci-fi, and, or I never knew I liked historical, or, so you never know. Any way that they give you to connect with readers, you want to do. So definitely fill out the bios.
Absolutely. Now, are you in KDP Select? Are your books in KDP Select?
Some books are. I kind of rotate them out.
Okay.
And it depends on, I've been doing it for a while. I do have kind of a wide audience base, but I do find it helpful, like on some of the backlist books, so I'll rotate them. I think I have 3 or 4 backlist series that are currently in KU. And then once they'll do like a 3 to 6 month term, depending on the book. And then it'll, I'll go and I'll cycle in some different ones. And then take advantage of the countdown deals. It also, for me, when you're dealing with a larger book list, it's easier for me to keep track of what I have on sale, and then to go through that, because trying to promote, 50, I'm just throwing out a number, 50 books on the same 3-month countdown deal or the same cell can be difficult to navigate. So I just feel like this is the series that I'm going to concentrate on. I'm going to do Tribes of the Vampire and the Divinity Warriors. And these are the series that I'm going to promote right now with KDP. And also too, when you do have readers that are using KDP, they read so fast. I mean, they will devour a catalog. So it's nice where you give them something new, they can go and they devour it. And then you can kind of lead them down whatever reading journey that you want as far as your books. And I think that's just honestly a decision that each author has to make for themselves. Whether or not they're, how it's all about researching and seeing how you want to publish.
Yeah, and that's a good call out. It's not the same for everybody. It's a different journey. Your readers read differently, so you find what works for you. All right. Well, we're at time. Thank you so very much. You had some amazing tips for how to use A+ detail pages, and in addition to that, hardcover. But I just want to say thank you so much for everything.
I know that I have a tendency to kind of talk fast, so anybody listening, if there's something you want me to clarify or go into more detail about, this is author networking, you know, I'm saying that, you know, I will do my best to answer your questions. Find me on social media, email me through my website, and when I have a second, I will be happy to do that, or, you know, talk more about, if I get a lot of questions, I'll write up a blog post or something to try to clarify anything that I've said today a little bit more.
Perfect. All right. As always, everybody, happy publishing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.